JC Chasez started his career when he was really young. He always knew that he has the talent to make it very big. He grew up in Bowery, Maryland, and since he was a young boy, he loved singing. He applied for different local talent shows and won most of them. With 15, he became a host for the Disney Mickey Mouse Club show. That was the place where he met different future superstars like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, and his future bandmate Justin Timberlake. After a successful run, the show was cancelled in 1994. Justin and Chasez became very good friends, so they stayed regularly in contact. One of the NSYNC members, Chris Kirkpatrick, wanted to create his own boy band, so he did call Justin to let him know his plans. While Justin was good friends with Chasez, he told him about the opportunity. So the three of them met each other and the bond was instantly there. Later on, they met Joey and Lance and they became the successful group NSYNC. They made history together, became this huge group, and Justin and Chasez were always the lead singers of the group. Later on, the media started to put Justin more on the front and wanted to make it look like without him the group is nothing. On the final NSYNC album, Justin and Chasez produced and wrote most of the songs. After the group decided in 2002 to go on a hiatus, all of the members started to focus more on their solo stuff. Chasez and Justin were signed by the same label, Jive Records. Jive Calendar was the founder of Jive Records. The reason why he signed NSYNC back then was he knew he gonna get three things: the group NSYNC, Justin Timberlake, and Chasez. He knew after NSYNC he gonna sign Justin and Chasez as solo artists. According to his estimation, Justin will be the one who will blow up fast with a lot of hit singles, a great album. He will be like the type of Michael Jackson person. But after all the success, his hype will slowly fall down. Chasez on the other side will be that type of superstar who will rise slowly but surely to the top. At the beginning he will not have that hype, but later on he will have a massive fan base and become the superstar he deserves to be. In 2002, Justin Timberlake released his first solo debut album, Justify. It became a massive success. The album sold over 6.5 million records worldwide with 5 hit singles. So you can imagine which pressure JC had. He knew that the label gonna expect him to do the same kind of things that Justin did, because they came from the same group, was signed by the same label, and that's how the music business works. For Clive, the founder of Jive Records, it was really important that JC don't do the same sound that Justin Timberlake had pursued. So I think with the pressure that JC already had, he became confused and a little bit scary to fail. So he started to work with different producers. He tried different sounds out like rock, pop, soul, R&B, hip-hop, with the goal to not sound like Justin. But I think at that point he lost himself completely. His first solo record was as a featured guest on the song Bring It All To Me by the group Black, who was created by Lisa Left Eye Lopez from the group TLC. The song was released in 1999 and became a smash hit. It charted on the Billboard 100 charts on top 5. In 2002, he released his first official solo single, Blow Me Up, produced and written by the successful producer Dallas Austin, who worked with TLC, Usher, and major industry acts. It was an urban song influenced with pop elements. The song peaked on the US Billboard Hot 100 charts on number 35 and charted as well in the UK and in Canada. In 2003, JC was a guest feature on the song Somnambulist. The song peaked number 98 on the Billboard 100 charts. In 2002, the label chef of Jive Records, Clive Callender, decided to sell his label to BMG and to left the label. What fans has to understand is when the man who signed you or the person who signed you leave the label, your whole project, your whole music, your whole artistry is in danger. because the person who signed you has the vision for you. But when he left, new people gonna come and take off. If they don't like your music, they're not gonna support it. They don't gonna spend the budget for the music, for the promotion. So that's what happened a lot in the industry. Barry Rice became the president of Jive Records. Barry was completely the opposite of Clive. He wanted Jay-Z to pursue more the sound that is going on the charts, because he was much more into urban, soul, R&B music, and he saw people like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Beyonce, Alicia Keys winning with the sound. So he wanted Jay-Z to go more into that type of direction. So Jay-Z and his team decided to send them all the songs they created over the last couple months, just to prove they are working and they are taking it very, very serious. Even the joke records, the songs they were not taking very serious, they sent them all. Sadly enough, he started to like the joke records because those ones had the urban sound, and one of the songs was Some Girls Dancing with a Woman. He wanted to make it the first single for the upcoming debut album. Jay-Z and his team tried to explain him that they have better records, but he wanted Some Girls. Another thing was the label was not believing in him because they saw the success of Justin and they knew Jay-Z can't beat Justin. So they did not spend a lot of money in marketing and recording process. It seemed like they wanted him to do the album very fast to drop him afterwards. Jay-Z's vision or focus was not to produce a hit album. His focus was more to do an album he liked. In 2004, he released his first single for his upcoming album, Some Girls. The song debuted in the US Billboard 100 charts on number 88. Second single for the album was All Day Long I Dream About Sex. That song charted on the Billboard 100 charts on number 124. On February 24, 2004, he released his first solo album with the title Schizophrenic. The album charted on number 17 on the Billboard 200 charts and sold totally 121,000 copies. He had the opportunity to perform and promote the songs on radio, different TV shows, but he had a short buzz. People were more focused on Justin Timberlake. He was the one who had the relationship with Britney. He was the one who had the hit album, the hit singles. He had the Super Bowl scandal with Janet Jackson, which affected some of Jay-Z's business and promotion. So people was not so much into Jay-Z's music and his career. And in this point, we clarified something. Not the one with the best voice in a group had the chance to make it big as a solo artist. This industry is not made like that, because I always see people complain about Jay-Z had the best voice in the group, he is the real superstar. Superstar has nothing to do with the best voice. At the end of the day, it's just business. We have to be very honest. Business is business. If the business works, you're gonna become the superstar. That easy. But to be very honest, Justin has an amazing voice. He is really talented. He can dance, he can sing, he can write, he can produce, and he had a good team who supported him throughout his career. And another thing was that Jay-Z released his first album where the music industry had a shift. People started to download a lot of music. Nobody was buying CDs, and the music industry tried to figure out how they can handle it. And in the middle of all this disaster, he was trying to navigate his solo career. So he had not an easy run. By the way, some of his songs was leaked before even he released a whole album. So it was a whole mess. After the whole Schizophrenic thing, the album released, the promotion, stuff like that, Jay-Z and his group members thought they're gonna go back to the studio and record another album. Later on, they found out that Justin is working on his next solo album and there will not be another NSYNC album. So at first they decided to move on without Justin, but some of the members didn't like the idea, so they cancelled the NSYNC project. Jay-Z always loved the studio and to write songs and to produce and to create different concepts, so he decided to write for other artists like the Sugar Babes, Backstreet Boys and many more. In 2008 he became a TV judge on the show MTV America's Best Dance Crew. Shortly after the Schizophrenic campaign, he started to work on his follow-up. This time he wanted to pursue a more pop-friendly sound. He wanted to shake things a little bit up and go in a different direction, but still have his Jay-Z sound in into his music. This time around, he wanted to make sure that the business it's 100% right. So he met up with his label, they talked about different stuff, about business strategies. He met up with over 30 producers. They recorded a bunch of music, and it seemed like that stuff started to go very well for him. But behind the scenes, some stuff was happening with his label. 2 years after BMG became the head of Jive Records, they decided to merge with Sony to create Sony BMG. That leads to more communication issues and more problems between JC's team and the label. For the first single of his upcoming album, he decided to work with his friend and ex-bandmate Justin Timberlake. He produced the song Until Yesterday. He promoted it a little bit. The song was released on all digital platforms, but the label was not supporting it. This time around, they were supporting him less than the first time around. I think behind the scenes they were preparing to drop him, but he was not understanding the signs. So he was waiting, asking always for album release dates. Sometimes they were giving him some dates and then they postponed it. Later on, he released the second song for his album You Ruined Me, without a video, without promotion, without support of a label. In the meantime, Justin was preparing for his second album. He had songs like Sexy Back, My Law, What Goes Around Comes Around, Summer Love, huge hits, and this time around he sold much more units than with Justified. Future Sex Love Sounds sold over 7 million units worldwide. To be very honest, after Justin released his first album and it became a hit, the label knew we don't need JC anymore. We're gonna hold him, but we don't need him anymore. It's similar to the Kelly Rowland and Beyonce situation. I'm gonna talk later about it a little bit more. After communication problems, the delay of Story of Kate, the second album, and all the problems behind the scenes, Jive dropped KC in 2007. And I think for KC it felt like they used me, they destroyed my career, and the industry turned their back against me. And I think at that point he didn't want to do music anymore. He decided to write for other artists, to push other artists, to go with them in the studio and to focus more on them. I think he was hurt for a lot of things that happened, and he asked himself why his career never took off. Here are some points why I think that the career of JC failed. First of all, the biggest mistake was that he signed with Jive Records because it was the same label where Justin Timberlake was. The label saw them as competitions, and they knew from the beginning the one who will sell more will become the superstar and we're gonna keep him. The other one we're gonna drop him. That's exactly what Columbia Records did with Kelly Rowland, Beyonce and Michelle Williams. They knew that Michelle will not sell that much of records because she was gospel, and gospel and regular don't sell that much because not everybody listens to gospel music. Kelly dropped Dilemma and it became unexpected a hit. Columbia did not expect that. She became the first Destiny's Child member with a #1 record. So Columbia started to realize maybe it's not Beyonce, it's Kelly. Beyonce released the song Work It Out and that song didn't work out. So they pushed Beyonce's solo album back and they put Kelly on the studio to record her album in 3 weeks because the single Dilemma was popping everywhere. So her first solo album sold over 3 million records worldwide. And then they released Beyonce's album and it sold over 7 million records worldwide. Both of them successful, but Beyonce's numbers was higher than Kelly's numbers. So after both of them started to work on their second album, Beyonce sold with B-Day 8 million records and Kelly Rowland sold with her second album over 1.5 million records. So after that they dropped Kelly Rowland. With her second album she had huge hits like Europe hits. In America she had one hit with Like This. They didn't want her anymore because they had Beyonce. That's the reason she started to focus more on Europe and start to build a fan base on Europe. But now back to JC. If you come from the same group, the label will see you always as competition. The best thing he could do in this situation was to sign with another label, better with a smaller label than with a huge record label. Because huge labels promise too much. At the end of the day, they don't have to keep their promises. And if they have a new promising artist, they're gonna drop you. They're constantly looking for new artists. So it did not make sense to be with Justin on the same label. Second thing was he was confused with his music. He didn't want to sound like Justin. So he tried to record different songs, different sounds and put it on one album. But it sounded very messy. His first album don't sound good, to be very honest. It sounded all over the place. There is no structure. There's not a real sound behind that album. Not in a bad way, but it was not a good album at all. all. The third problem was he sounded too much like Justin. The tracks they picked for him sounded too much like Justin Timberlake. Sometimes you want to do your own thing and to sound differently. That's the reason why you pick different songs, different sounds, but as much as he tried to sound different, it didn't work out. Fourth thing was, I think his team did not know how to do or to handle things. He simply did not have the right team. Maybe they had the right intentions, but they was not able to bring him where he's supposed to be. The fifth problem was the label was not believing in him. They could drop him after the first album. There was no reason to keep him. He could find another label and work with them, but it seemed like they wanted to sabotage his career. It's sad to see how his career went down because, like I mentioned earlier, he could do it like Kelly Rowland did back then, to travel outside of America to try different sounds like EDM music or other music and to build a fan base, because after Kelly came back to America, she had Motivation, she had Kisses Down Low, she had Ice, she had a lot of hits, so it was stupid to give up music so fast. I think he had the chance to become very big. Like, look at Kelly, she sold as a solo artist 40 million records by her own without the DC songs. That's a lot. It always seems like Jay-Z had a type of sadness inside of him because his music career never took off the way he wanted, and it looked like he would never want to express that feeling fully because he maybe thinks it will look too jealous to his former bandmate Justin Timberlake. The industry messed his situation up and he was too naive to understand it. It was not his fault. The times were different at this period of time. Even if he never had the type of solo career he deserved, but he opened many people's eyes. Many generations after him learned about his situation. You can have a group where everybody is successful. Look at One Direction, look at Fifth Harmony, look even at Destiny's Child. All of them till this day is still relevant, really successful, are doing their businesses, their music. So it's possible. Today Jay-Z is a songwriter, a producer, appears on different shows and is more behind the scenes active. I hope you liked the video about Jay-Z. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about the situation, his story. Do you remember Donnie Klang from Nanking the Band? What happened with him? If you want to know it, click on the info card and watch the video. Don't forget to leave me a thumb up and subscribe to the channel to not miss any other video. We see each other next time.